Howdy folks, I decided to do another video on Mr. Trump. This time we're just going to do a video on Donald Trump and why I support the guy and why you should too. Okay? See, the Trump phenomenon is unique. I mean, I'm 58 years old. I've never can recall an election like this or a candidate like this. Doesn't matter where you go in the country. He draws enormous crowds, thousands of people. I mean, just recently in Iowa, he had a rally where, you know, the place was packed. O'Malley, one of the Democratic candidates, held a rally and one person showed up. Yeah, one whole person showed up. He's real popular, isn't he? Okay. We see Trump is unique. He's completely different from any of the other candidates, either the Democrats or Republicans. Because you see, he's a businessman, okay? And that's really what we need. We need somebody with some business sense to try to straighten this mess out these career establishment politicians have gotten us into. And back when Trump was a young man, he did get $1 million loan from his dad. But look at what he did with it. Look at the business empire that he's built that's multinational, it's worldwide. It's worth around $10 billion. He took that $1 million and look what he did with it. And some people will argue, oh, when his dad died, he got more money. Well, by the time his dad died, he'd already built the business up to such a degree, it really didn't matter. No, he's a smart man, okay? He is a very smart man. And another thing about Mr. Trump, he knows a lot of other people that are smart like him. When he gets to be president, he can bring into his administration. Icahn, for example, his business empire he's built, which is multinational, is worth over $20 billion. You don't do that by being stupid, people, okay? That's one thing Mr. Trump is very good at, is picking his people. See, because you've got to be able to delegate your authority to other people in order to do what he's doing. And he's very good at picking the right people in other leadership positions to run things. See, I see this about him, see? These are reasons that you need to vote for the guy. We need somebody like this in there to try to straighten up this mess. And like I mentioned before about the poll on the millionaires, that 93% of your millionaires vote, people worth $1 million or more, and most of them will vote for Clinton, Hillary Clinton. Jeb Bush is in second place. And like I've said, all that does is just tell you that both Hillary Clinton and Jeb Bush are the two biggest political prostitutes of the bunch. They can be bought. That's all that means, they can be bought. And you see Trump, even though he might be a little braggadocious, you know, he doesn't blow smoke. He does what he says. If he says he's going to build a nice, beautiful golf course, he builds it. If he says he's going to build a nice, beautiful building, he builds the darn thing. He does what he says, okay? He's not a blowhard. So when he says he's going to build a wall, he's going to get rid of the illegal immigrants, he's going to send the Muslim refugees back, he's going to do it, okay? He's not like all these other politicians that'll tell you whatever you want to hear, and then when they get in office, they do what they want. They ignore their promises, okay? Another thing I noticed too, when they were doing an interview with Trump a while back in his office. So I looked around his office when they were doing the interview. He got stuff piled everywhere. See, now if that office would have been pristine, neat as a pin, that would have told me that, well, what does he do? Yeah, what does he doesn't do anything. In other words, if you could look around here, you know, all of my research materials, I mean, I got stuff piled everywhere. And when I get ready to do one of these videos, you know, it'll come into my mind while I'm doing the outline, what materials I want to draw from. I'll find it. It's here somewhere. I know roughly where it's at. And he's the same way. I mean, sometimes you can see a blueprint on his desk, but he's got stuff piled everywhere. He's a busy man. He stays active. He stays active, okay? Another thing too, he doesn't have to do this. I mean, Donald Trump does not have to do this. I mean, why in the world would you want to do something like this, run for president? I mean, he could live comfortably the rest of his life, you know, and just kind of stay behind the scenes and nobody would bother him. He sees the country's in deep trouble, and he loves the country. He wants to help. He does. He wants to help. And we better look out too, because as time goes on, Once it gets into the primary season where people are actually voting, the political establishment, the mainstream media, the press, well, yeah, they're going to start kicking it into high gear, trying to tear him down. They do not want him in there. He's not one of the good old boy clubs. He's not part of the good old boy club. So he doesn't fit in. He's not been really trained like these career establishment politicians with their socialist philosophy in their head, you know, where the government should be able to do anything it wants to, and to hell with the Constitution. We'll do it anyway. That's the way they are, okay? Now we must stop the march towards socialism. See, that's what's been happening ever since the New Deal. Remember, I've told you that before. See, the New Deal forced socialism into our system. And like I say, FDR and that socialist bunch, when TV came into being back in 1939 and 1940, was ready to market, they took control over it. And like I say, that's what's wrong with the mainstream media today. Okay, this big executive bureaucracy, it's a bunch of socialists that write all the laws that Congress rubber stamps. Okay, the mainstream media is pretty much an extension of them. Okay, they're a democratic socialist entity to a high degree. They're not there to tell you the truth, they're there to try to brainwash you. All right? Now, one interesting fact that I read recently was where there's a lot of people in this country have little or no savings. Most people live paycheck to paycheck. I mean, if they lost their job, they'd pretty much be screwed, okay? And actually, this was a similar situation that existed back in pre-Civil War times in the South. Yeah. See, Hinton Helper of North Carolina noticed this back then. Poverty, ignorance, superstition are the three leading characteristics of non-slave-holding whites of the South. Many of them grow up to the age of maturity and pass through life without ever owning as much as $5 at any one time. Yeah, thousands of them die at an advanced age as ignorant of the common alphabet as if it had never been invented. You'd be surprised how many people graduate from high school around here that can't read. But you see, $5 back then was a fairly decent amount of money, because you figure about $12, $14 a week. I mean a month, excuse me, $12 or $14 a month back then is what, for example, people earned working for the railroad. So you're talking about maybe 2 weeks, roughly 2 weeks worth of wages. And that's what Helper pointed out. I mean, hardly anybody had that much money during their whole course of their whole life. They were able to have that much money saved. See, the slaveholders did that on purpose to them. You keep them poor, you keep them ignorant, you keep them broke, they're no threat to you. They're no threat to you. And it's happening again. That's what socialism does. Makes everybody equally poor and miserable. Is that what you want? Really, is that what you want? If that's what you want, vote for the burn. Vote for the burn. It'll tax the crap out of you, I guarantee it. Now, back when we had a free labor system, okay, hold on, let's get this other book. Herbert Hoover, got a lot of respect for the guy. But anyway, and this is a speech I think he gave, 33, on the reform in our financial system. And he pointed this out. As to production, our system of stimulated individual effort, by its creation of enterprise, development of skills and discoveries in science and invention, has resulted in production of the greatest quantity of commodities and service of the most infinite variety that were ever known in the history of man. Our production in 1924 through 1928, for instance, in the flow of commodities, service and leisure, resulted in the highest standard of living of any group of humanity in the history of the world. Yeah, see, that was back when we had a free labor system. Even though the income tax had started in 1913 with the 16th Amendment, people received their wages in full, paid their taxes indirectly as a consumer. You know, and that free labor system had resulted in a very productive economy, and it produced the highest standard of living any people had experienced in the history of the world. And now along come the socialists and destroy the free labor system and think that things are going to get better. No, they're just marching us straight back through the long corridor of time, back to basically a condition of lords and serfs. That's what Herbert Hoover warned the people about and challenged to liberty. It's just a continental retreat back through the long corridor of time. And that's what this guy pointed out. Friedrich Hayek, it's the road to serfdom. Road to serfdom. Okay. Now, and I think I pointed this out before too. If you lived in the South in pre-Civil War times, okay, and you voted, you were a non-slave holding white. Every election, if you went to the ballots, went to the polls and voted, you could vote for the slaveholder of your choice, because the slaveholders had structured the system to where they were the only ones on the ballot. You imagine that, going to vote, and the only thing to vote for on the whole ballot were a bunch of slaveholders. You could vote for the slaveholder of your choice. Wasn't that great? Yeah. It's pretty much the way it is today, isn't it? Really doesn't matter who you vote for, whether you vote for the Republicans. You figure, oh, we're going to throw the Democrats out and put the Republicans in there. What good did it do? It didn't change a damn thing, did it? And they just recently passed this omnibus spending bill that just gave Obama all the money he wanted to fund all of this stuff, everything, even flooding the country with more Muslims. Yeah, go ahead, here's all the money you need. And they didn't even read the thing before they voted on it. Rubber stamp it, don't even know what's in it. They're doing a real fine job, aren't they? Like I say, folks, if you want me to run again, I will. But I got to see that there's some public support for me to do it. I'm not going to waste my time anymore. I'm not going to do it. Okay? Now, I think really the main reason Trump's running, okay, is his kids. Okay? And one interesting interview I saw not long after Trump announced he was running was Gene Simmons, the guy that is a singer for Kiss, the rock group Kiss. And he pointed out that no matter what you think about Donald Trump, you can tell a lot about a man by his children. That's what Simmons said. Look at his children. He's done a fine job raising his kids. He has. Look at them. They're smart. While he's running for president, they're running the company. You don't have to worry about it. They're handling it just fine. They are. But you see, Eric has got kids, a wife and kids. Ivanka, she's got 2 kids, a third one on the way. See, Trump knows, just like I do, if something is not done to bring a stop to this process of gradual socialism and increasing servitude, our kids and grandkids, you're just selling them down the river. You're damning their future. Yeah. I mean, because on down the road, when they become adults, once we go so deep, into socialism, we'll cross the event horizon and there'll be a point of no return. And you'll just get sucked into the black hole of socialism. That's not a good thing. Like I say, the Black Book of Communism, if you really want to know what it's like to live in a purely socialist system, read this book. Read this book. In the 20th century, all the research these people did, they showed that I think about 400 million people died because of all these socialist systems. So is socialism really what you want in this country? I mean, do you think that all these people in all these other countries got socialism wrong, but somehow we're going to get it right? Well, like old Benjamin Franklin said, the family of fools is ancient. It's ancient, people. Like Lincoln said, a nation divided against itself cannot stand. Back in his day. He said the nation will carry on. It will continue. But a nation cannot continue half slave and half free. It'll continue one way or another. It will cease to be divided, and sure enough, we had a great civil war, and slavery was done away with. And from 1865 through 1936, we had a free labor system in this country. This country became very, very prosperous under that free labor system. And along comes Roosevelt and the New Deal and destroys the free labor system and starts reaching out and nationalizing our labor, taking whatever they want from all wage earners. See? Something that had never been done before in the history of the country up until that time. And ever since then, we've been traveling down this path of gradual socialism, increasing servitude. And the same thing applies again today. A nation divided against itself cannot stand. This nation cannot continue part socialist state and part constitutional republic. It must become all one or all the other. And which one it becomes depends upon how you vote. And that's why you need to vote for Donald Trump for president.